Hey Rio Blanco County, I'm the Hardware Hound and I am back to talk about how to get the most out of your gigabit fiber internet speeds. So as you can see, we're doing some testing and we're going to test the wireless side. We did the wired Ethernet port last time, and so now we're going to try to get this wireless thing figured out. And I'm going to tell you right now, wireless is a lot more finicky than wired connections. We have a test system back here. We got a couple of different routers. We're going to give it our best shot. Okay, folks, let's start talking about how we're going to test this wireless. Now, I've got a little bit of a Steadicam thing going. Hopefully, that'll help some of the shake. But you know, it takes a little bit of practice to learn how to use it, so don't expect it all to be gone. But that being said, yeah, by the way, for those of you down in Meeker, I'm sorry, I do live in Rangeley, but I kind of forget that, you know, we're all part of Rio Blanco County here, so do not want to forget to share the love here, but we're all part of this fiber project together. So let's talk about wireless now. Now, what I've got right here is a $60 roughly AC 1200 wireless router. A lot of you will probably have a wireless router very much like this one. So it's not going to be very fancy. It's not going to do a whole lot because it's not very expensive. We're going to find out what kind of speeds we can get going to this guy. And then we're going to move to an even better router and show some more testing. So here we go. All right, let's begin with our first testing of our wireless speeds here. Now, if you have a simple little netbook like this, that was only like maybe a couple $100, you can't expect much. Now, as you can see, I ran one of the tests already. I wanted to make sure I was on the right server. Look at that download and that upload speed. There's not much we can do about that. If I hit test again, watch what happens here. Look at all that lag that's happening. You see all that delay and stuttering? That has nothing to do with the internet speed. That has everything to do with the power of this little device. It does not have a very good processor, does not have very good graphics, doesn't have good anything. And so even just using a web page can cause a lot of lag. So the thing about that is that all depends on the device. You know, sometimes you can get a device that is 5 years old will run smoother than this thing. Sometimes you can buy a device from last year that runs like garbage. You know, it's amazing, but wireless is extremely, extremely finicky to how well your computer runs as a whole. Wireless really needs that. So as you can see, we've done okay. We're not doing too bad. We've got some speeds going. But there's just only so much a device like this will do. We did some research, looked through the types of laptops there are, and it seemed like the most that I can find is a wireless device that's built into a laptop that can do roughly 400 or 500 megs per second. So we're not talking about extreme speeds for built-in devices in wireless devices. Now, some can do better than others, but these laptops and these little netbooks are usually going to perform pretty badly. So if you're expecting gig service, I can guarantee you're not going to see it here. Let's start looking at some things that are going to give us a little bit better. Welcome to the new official machine of Colorado Fiber Community. Yep, we have lots of lights. Gotta have lots of lights. Lights make it run faster. So we're going to use this guy now to start doing some serious wireless testing to see what we can try to expect. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to test this guy right here. That is a little USB AC 1200 adapter. Plugs into a USB port. Right now I'm just running it in a 2.0 port. And so when we do that, let's see what we got. So we're connected to our D-Link router, and we're going to just come over here now. And there you go. We've got a test ready to go. Oh, almost ready to go. So one thing that happened this weekend that wasn't happening last weekend is it keeps defaulting me to a server out in Wyoming, and I don't care about the Wyoming server. I want to test right here to our building because that's kind of cool that we have our own speed test. So we've got AC 1200, and look at that. USB adapter that's supposed to be AC 1200, and we are capping out at a roughly, look at that, 200 megs. So, you know, if you want something small and compact, the other problem with it is it's probably not going to give you what it advertises it can do. We're supposed to be able to get a theoretical 800 megs on that 5 gigahertz band. We're only getting a fraction of it. The router is just across the room over there. It's not even far. We don't have any interference where we should be doing just fine on this. And look at that. That's about the most we can get. Now, granted, I was using a 2.0 plug. So if I grab this guy and transfer it over to a 3.0 plug, let's see if that gets any better. Now, I had tested this out earlier. Okay, looks like we reconnected automatically, which is fantastic. I tested this earlier in a 3.0 plug in a smaller, in like a laptop device that was a little older. And the 3.0 actually did worse than the 2.0. Now here, we're at least doing about the same. Might be, yeah, we're doing about the same. So if anything, this D-Link router may not be the best. Now, I was able to borrow another AC 1200 adapter that I could not keep with me, unfortunately, but it was a Linksys, and it was giving us at least, you know, around 300-400. So even though we have a D-Link wireless router and a D-Link adapter, we're just not getting a ton. And so if you've got a laptop that's getting really bad speeds, just grabbing any old USB adapter is not going to guarantee that you're going to get the speeds that you want. So here's the real question. How do we get gigabit speeds over wireless? Let's find out. Okay, Rio Blanco, let's talk about the first step in getting our gigabit speeds over wireless. Do you see this monster? This is the TP-Link Archer C5400 wireless router. So this guy is an AC 5400 router. It's tri-band, so that means we've got one band, which is the 2.4 gigahertz band, and it's only going to run at 600 megs max, so that's not much. And you know, on 2.4 you might be lucky to get 300 down in uploads on that band. But what's really important is the 5 gigahertz bands. There's 2 of them, so that A, you can automatically switch between the 2 different ones to help have little interference as possible. But the other important thing is that each one of those 5 gigahertz bands has a max speed of around 2200 theoretical megahertz. So that when everything is put together, you can have a full bandwidth of around 5400 megahertz, but that won't be your maximum speed. You're not going to get an actual 5 gigs. So we're going to test that out, but that's the first step. Now, for those of you who are wondering, well, how much does one of these things cost? Try $300. So just realize that that's how much of a difference there is between that little $60 router that we were using at first to getting to something like this. So now we got that step out of the way. Let's start looking at some other devices. So many of you might be wondering, why can't I get a gigabit speed on my phone? Because honestly, you're probably not going to get gigabit speeds on your phone, period. See, look at this guy. Now that is crazy download and upload speeds. We got over 600 on the download and almost 600 on the upload. This is a Galaxy Note 5. But honestly, that's the most I've seen. And I have a Galaxy S7, and I haven't been able to quite pull those numbers. So as you can see, your wireless device is not going to quite get to gig. They only have so much juice inside of them that are going to allow them to get to those high-end speeds. So even if you have gigabit service in your home, your device is only going to pull so much of that. Now, if you have 5 or 6 of these devices, though, you might be surprised at how much that extra bandwidth will help when everybody's on at the same time. Let's move on to some other things, and let's really talk about how we get to gigabit speeds on wireless. Okay, so you remember when I was telling you that this is the official machine of Colorado Fiber Community? We have a really awesome, those lights really mess with my autofocus, it's pretty funny. There's a reason why this is the official machine. First off, we need to make sure you had a good processor. And you can't see that processor because it's under that LEPA CPU cooler. But we wanted to make sure we had a good Core i3 that had some good single thread performance, just to make sure we don't bottleneck it there. We wanted to make sure we had good RAM. The RAM is running at 2400 megahertz to DDR4. The key though, the number one key to make sure we can do this is this guy right down here. This is a PCI Express wireless adapter from Asus, and it is an AC3100. It's dual band. Yes, you need a desktop PC in order to install one of these things. So you're not going to be able to just throw one of these things into your laptop. They don't make them for laptops yet. As best as I can tell, I could not find any kind of good USB device that will go up to the AC 3 grand plus range. So if you look around here in the back, look at that. We've got 4 connectors going up to this wire that then goes to this platform right here on the top, and there's 4 antennas that are going to be broadcasting the signal and receiving the signal. This is AC3100, so in theory we should be getting roughly 2100 total bandwidth from the 5 gigahertz band, with the, you know, roughly 600 or so from the 2.4. Roughly, I might be missing some of those numbers ever so slightly, but we're pretty darn close. So if I come over here to my network and sharing center, we are connecting this computer to that monster device that I showed you earlier. Now look at that. In theory, we are supposed to be able to connect at about 2.1 gigabits per second. And right now we are only running 1.5. That's because we're going through 2 walls. And I have a bunch of metal filing cabinets along one of the walls. Wireless starts dropping instantly when you start going through stuff. So unless you are in the same room and have direct line of sight to the router and to your adapters, you're going to have some issues. But in spite of all these problems, let's test this again now. There it is. That was our test from just a USB adapter. Now we're using our high-end equipment. Let's find out what happens. Wow. Would you look at that? Oh, we're still crawling. We're still going up. We're still going up. Oh, we're getting there. Getting higher. Getting higher. Now, that is the most I have ever seen. Well, not quite the most. When I had this computer set up in the same room, I was actually getting about low 900s. The uploads were actually getting into the 900s again. That is the kind of equipment that you need in order to get gigabit wireless speeds. And you still have to be careful about positioning, about interference, about all kinds of things. Because this kind of stuff isn't going to just happen. It's going to happen under the right circumstances. It's kind of like your satellite signal. You know, you can have great TV as long as there's not a giant thunderstorm above your house, which can sometimes interrupt that signal. Now, granted, satellite technology's gotten pretty good, and a lot of times it takes a really big storm to really affect that. But wireless is way, way more finicky. And here's the thing. You start pumping too much wireless through your house, who knows what kind of radiation poisoning and various things you can be getting. So these signals can't just be adjusted to be stronger. They also have to still be safe. And so we don't want to be shooting microwaves through our bodies all the time that aren't safe for us. So trying to balance those two things is really hard, which is why wireless is so finicky. Here's the other thing. Not counting any of the other parts in this computer we did, that little Asus wireless card is about $115, $120. And then you combine that with a $300 wireless router, and yes, you are over $400 to try to get a gigabit speed over wireless. And then don't expect your phones to get that, and only expect a desktop PC to still really attain that. So that is what the challenges are with wireless. But if you have the right equipment, it can be done, but it's not easy. So I think that's kind of a really good overview of what to expect out of wireless connections. If you're ordering gigabit speed, don't expect to see just a gigabit download. But if you have the gigabit package and you've got 5 or 10 devices in your house connected to it, then it can really help keep available bandwidth to everybody so that multiple people can be using the internet at the same time and not slowing down the entire house. So there's a couple of ideas of how to set that equipment up. Let's go ahead and talk about one last thing about wireless poles so we can get a final idea of how to do wireless based on getting the most out of your house. Okay, we are back at the little D-Link AC1200 router that we got here, this little wireless guy. Now, first off, guys, it's really important to understand that these cheaper routers are designed for small single level houses. They're really not meant to give wireless across multiple floors and going across really large square footage homes. Now that TP-Link Archer that we talked about earlier, as you can see, even though we are going through 2 walls, and look at here, right here, there's those metal filing cabinets I was telling you about. We have all that stuff in the way, it's still just blasting through all that with signal, and that's fantastic. So if you have a giant home, you're probably going to want one of those, but let's say you don't have the budget for that and you still are having a little bit of trouble. Let's first talk about positioning. Ideally, you want to get this thing in the center of your home, because as you get farther from the router, wireless signal gets weaker and weaker. So the closer to center you can put the router in your home, the better chance you're going to have of having the strongest signal possible throughout all corners of your house. If you have this in a back corner bedroom of your house, by the time you get to your living room, you're going to have very weak signal and you're going to have problems. Now let's talk about people who might have 2 or 3 level homes. I've seen those, quite a few of those in Rangeley. If you'll notice, these antennas angle down and angle up. Now I have them all straight up. Why? Because we are in a single floor area in the CFC building, and what's happening is this antenna is literally projecting signal out in a circle, a complete circle, 360-degree radius, going out from the antenna. And you can kind of think of it like a cone shape. It kind of starts off small and gets bigger as it goes out, but it doesn't get huge. It kind of goes out into a narrow cone. So because of that, our best signal is going to be at the same level as this router. So as long as we're on the same floor, that's fine. As soon as you go into a basement level or an upstairs level, that's going to change. So what do? Angle this guy down. Now we've got some signal going kind of angled and pointing down into the floor because it's going out perpendicular from the antenna. We have some signal going out. And as you can see, because this has 4 antennas, you can do a different angle for each one so that you're going this way, this way, this way, and that way. If you have a 2-story, 3-story house, angling your antennas like that is going to give you the best chance to get good signal, the best signal you can get through your house. Now once again, this is not a very powerful router, so don't expect a lot. But you know, you can also, if you've got it at the right angles, you can bring a couple of these up to try to keep good signal going across your main level of your home with a little bit angled towards maybe an upstairs bedroom or something. The point is try to get this to point in the direction of wherever the room is to get that signal to go as straight as you can. And that's how you get the most signal out of your wireless router. So there's some tips and tricks. I hope those things kind of help you guys out. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments below. I love to try to help those things out. I hope some of you got a kick out of seeing full gigabit wireless speed. That's pretty fun. And so, I mean, that TP-Link Archer is a beast of a router, and that Asus wireless router adapter worked really well with the TP-Link. Surprisingly, not so well with this router though. It actually had some serious troubles. It's almost like it's too fast for this. So matching up your AC speed seems to help as well. So there's some wireless tips on how to take advantage of gigabit fiber. Just remember, folks, sometimes you're not going to get that max speed, but that doesn't mean you're not getting the gig service. It just means that you need to determine how to use the gig service. If you have 3 children, all with smartphones, and you guys like to stream shows at night, I think gigabit's going to help you. If you're just one device and you're plugged in, maybe the middle of the range package or even the lower end will be more than enough. So fiber is still going to offer you some great latencies. It's going to also offer you some great uninterruptible service. So it's still worth having, even if you don't need to take advantage of the full gig service. Let's go ahead and finish this off with a little intro of myself, and then we will see where this goes from here. So some people were asking about who I was and what I'm doing and stuff. So I figured a short intro might be in line. So my name's Josh. Actually, I work as a systems admin at the hospital in Rangeley, but part of Rio Blanco County. Been working in the IT field and living in this area of Colorado for about almost 5 years now. This April will be 5 years. And so as I've tried to fix internet issues and get to the bottom of stuff, I eventually came into contact with Paul with CFC, and so that's why I'm here, because I love computers, I love computing, and I really love good internet. So as soon as I found out fiber was coming to Rangeley, I mean, yeah, for a guy like me, dream come true. So it's nice to see y'all. Definitely been around for a while. I'm definitely a Western Colorado guy, so even though I'm a little bit techie. So hope that you guys appreciate the intro. Once again, if you have any questions, comments below. If you like my channel, like computer stuff, like and subscribe this video, subscribe to my channel, and that might even help me out a little bit. So anyway, Rio Blanco County, great place to live. I'll catch you later.